Welcome to the Broward County Library's Armchair Traveler program, Machu Picchu. My name is Mike, and I will be your tour guide for this adventure. Important. We had to book our trip months in advance. Everyone wants to see Machu Picchu. I've got your tickets. Let's pack light. We'll be walking a lot, carrying our backpacks. The high altitude in some of these places we'll visit will make it hard to breathe till we acclimate. Weather changes quickly. I hope you packed your rain poncho. And your shoes better be comfy to walk in. Oh yes, let's stash our passports and cash in our money belts under our shirts. U.S. dollars are accepted most places in Peru, and English is spoken in the cities and hotels. Got our water bottles? We do not want to drink the local tap water. And don't forget your digital camera with the really large capacity memory card. Oops! Remember, it's 220 volts in Peru, not 110. Make no mistake, we are going up. The Andes Mountains are the highest mountain range outside Asia. Our cities here in the U.S. can't compete with the mountain villages in Peru. Look at this comparison chart. Denver, the mile-high city, is not even close. Okay, our travel plan. Fly to Lima and sightsee for a bit. Fly to Cusco, acclimate to high altitude and sightsee there. Travel and tour the sacred valley outside Cusco. Take the special train to Aguascalientes and board a bus heading up the mountain to Machu Picchu. Experience Machu Picchu, then take the train back to Cusco and fly to Lima and on to the U.S. First stop, Lima. After flying 2,644 miles in 5.5 hours, the time zone in Peru is the same as Florida, Eastern Standard Time. Question, why does Lima exist? During the Spanish conquest of the Incas in the 1500s, the Conquistadors under Francisco Pizarro ambushed and murdered the Inca king, Atahualpa, and searched for a suitable place to establish a capital city for their Spanish empire. His scouts found a site that had ample water, wood provisions, extensive fields, and fair weather. Pizarro liked the site and founded a city there and named it Ciudad de los Reyes, City of Kings, in honor of the Christian feast of the Holy Kings. A year and a half later, the new city was besieged by an army, an Inca rebellion, led by a mountain dweller named Manco Inca. The rebellion was defeated after heavy fighting. Only a few years after its founding, the city lost its Spanish name. The natives from the area around the new city called this area Limac. The Spanish, however, couldn't pronounce the final Q, so they dropped it, thus changing the name to Lima. Let's jump ahead to 2020. Look at the size of this city. Over 32% of all the people in Peru live in the city of Lima. That's over 10 million. And the food. Lima has become the unofficial gastronomical capital of South America. The city boasts world-renowned chefs and is the only city to have 2 restaurants ranked in the top 10 of the world's 50 best. There are many traditional must-try Peruvian specialties, but no one should leave the city without trying ceviche. The dish was invented here. How about a short walk around Lima? Check out the architecture. Arches and courtyards, it seems everywhere. Lima builders copied the prevailing Spanish colonial style. That style was popularized in Spain by the Berber Muslims who conquered and controlled it for over 700 years. These people, called Moors, came up from Africa and created the Andalusian culture. For over 300 years, in all Peru, large or official buildings were erected in this Spanish Moorish style. Here's the Archbishop's Palace with its elegant balconies. It is the administrative headquarters of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Lima, right in the center of the city, in the Plaza de Armas. Spanish Moorish style. Arches in windows, doors, and hallways. Ornate balconies of hand-carved wood, another signature part of Peru's colonial architecture, are also prominently featured here. This is the Cathedral of Lima, also on the Plaza de Armas. Lima is certainly the city of churches, especially in the Old Town or city center. You find a church at almost every corner, most of them dating back to colonial times. Why so many churches? Well, Lima became the center of suppression measures against the indigenous population. The Inquisition of the Catholic Church was fighting against native religious customs and rites. This unpleasant history made it possible for us today to find an uncountable number of magnificent religious buildings in Lima. Most have been restored over the last few years. Just down the street, there's a sidewalk by a park, full of artists displaying their work. The artists are very proud of their Inca history, and it's evident. If you look closely, you can see Machu Picchu in at least one of these paintings. Oh boy, the ever-present souvenir shop, but not really expensive. Let's not buy too many souvenirs yet. We'll have to lug them around for the rest of our trip. Maybe a hat and scarf for use up in the mountains where it's cold. Speaking of mountains, it's time to start moving inland into those mountains and traveling back in time. We'll fly from Lima to the capital of the Inca Empire, Cusco. Lima's on the left, Cusco on the right. 687 miles southeast. 1 hour flight time going over the mountains. But by bus, 20 hours. Cusco is the oldest continuously inhabited city in all the Americas. Officially, over 3,000 years old, but pre-ceramic artifacts have been found there that date back 5,000 years. The Aboriginal name of this city was Cusco, which meant Rock of the Owl. The city's mythology says that an ancient man from the mountains grew wings like an owl and flew over the area and thought the site would be good for settlement. He brought his tribe, then promptly turned into a rock. We need to get to our hotel. It's hard to breathe. We are so high. Your chest gets very tight. Remember, 10,800 feet up, higher than any city in the United States. Oh, here we are. Taxi to our door. At least it's only 2 stories tall. This is Ellen. She had trouble getting up the stairs to her second-floor room. Trouble breathing, like a weight on your chest. Water. Rest. Take things slowly for a bit. Acclimate. So, after a bit of a rest, let's see where we are. Our hotel is a combination modern and old Spanish. Arches and balconies again, but glass walls between the courtyard and the hallways on the first floor. Check out the jaguar head on the fountain at the left. That is pure Inca. Look at this. We are at 10,800 feet, and still the mountain at the end of this street goes higher. We'll stay back here to explore. So on this street, look, balconies, really narrow stone streets, and some original Inca stonework at the base of the building. What do you see here? A church? Yes, a Dominican Catholic church. But do you see the gray curved walls surrounding the church, and the stone terraces below that? This was the centerpiece of the Incan Empire and considered the holiest site in Incan mythology. This was Coricancha. It was once a large building covered in gold and silver, a magnificent place. Then came the Spanish. First they kidnapped the Inca king, Atahualpa, and demanded all the gold and silver as ransom. Once they had it, They reneged on the king's release and murdered him. Then, through battle, they took the city and built the Dominican Catholic Church right on top of Oricancha's foundations. The gray curved wall and the stone terraces are all that's left. In the center of Cusco is the town square. We might cross it many times on our Cusco visit. A great tip to enjoying it is to go for a morning coffee or afternoon beer at one of the second-floor cafes and restaurants which can be found on 3 sides of the square. With small balconies to huddle on, it's a welcome respite from walking and sightseeing and the best way to watch the world of traditional and tourist Cusco hustling by. Another Spanish church, the Cathedral Basilica of the Assumption of the Virgin, also known as Cusco Cathedral. It was a church that the Jesuits built in Cusco's main square. Construction took almost 100 years. It was built on the foundations of another sacred Inca site, the temple and the palace of a prior Inca king. Remember the purpose: suppressing the Inca religion from all Peru and replacing it with Spanish Catholic Christianity. In the center of the town square stands the bronze statue of the 9th ruler of the city of Cusco and later king of the Inca Empire, Pachacuti. He is pointing towards the mountains. Some say toward the fortress temple of Sacsayhuaman. This is the king who began the expansion of the Inca dominion from the valley of Cusco to most of western South America. Most agree that Machu Picchu itself was built as an estate for him. Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui was his full name and title, and he lived in the late 1400s, 100 years before the Spanish came. In Quechua, the language of the Inca, Pachacuti means he who overturns space and time, and Yupanqui means with honor. During his reign, Cusco grew from a small hamlet into the great center of an empire. He became arguably the greatest of all Inca emperors and a central figure in many of South America's most glorious myths, legends, and tales. Hungry? Hungry. How about some dinner? Great. Second floor restaurant up the stairs. That's okay, we're breathing better now. The name, Casa Curicancha. Sound familiar? It's named in honor of the holiest site in Incan mythology, just down the road. Another souvenir shop, this one in Cusco. Maybe we should skip this one also, as we have a lot of walking and carrying ahead of us. Did we get our hats and scarves at the Lima shop? Yes? Time to head out into the Sacred Valley. I'll see you in episode 2.